Hello and welcome to the Ending Body Burnout Show. We are your hosts, Chris and Philly, co-founders of a multi-award-winning functional medicine practice, serving busy people with energy, mood, and gut issues.
While busyness, addictive doing, people-pleasing, and perfectionism might be the norm, it's not normal, and it's a major contributor to health issues.
Our goal with this show is to give you a holistic root cause approach to healing your body so that you don't have to continue doctor or diet hopping or popping a gazillion supplements hoping something might stick.
So get ready to heal your body, get your spark back, deeply connect with yourself, and step into the life of your dreams.
Let's dive in. G'day guys and welcome to the Ending Body Burnout Show. We've got a good episode for you today. It's a bit of a personal one. I'll turn the time over to Phil to introduce it and give us a bit of context.
Thank you. So this is going to be a bit of a personal story around some things that happened last year and really over the last 18 months. In our business, so I'm going to talk about an award we won and also the launches that we run for Ending Body Burnout Method and the things that I've learnt along the way, which can absolutely be applied to body burnout, energy, managing energy, and also around the award story. There's some stuff that was hanging underneath the surface at a subconscious level. So it's a little bit of a left-wing one, but I've actually spoken to quite a few clients around these stories. So I thought, let's make an episode out of it because there's a lot of learnings that I think you could apply in your own life and in your health and healing journey. Okay, so at the end of 2024, we won the Launch Boss Award at the Her Empire Builder Conference. So Chris and I went up to Sydney and we met with our business coach, Tina Tower. We, in the past, I think 18 months, we've been part of Her Empire Builder, which is a membership for business owners with online businesses. And so this conference was part of a planning day for 2025 and we got lots of work done, which was awesome. But also Tina announced some winners and gave out some awards for some of her students inside her membership. And we won the Launch Boss one. I was really shocked that we won. I didn't even prepare a speech or I couldn't. So I went up on the stage like a deer in headlights. I didn't have anything to say. And then Tina's like, tell all these women, so there were about 100 business women in the room, tell all these women the tips that you can share with them to make their launches a success. And I really didn't give anything, I really didn't talk about anything substantial. So in today's episode, I want to share exactly what I would have liked to have shared if I could go back in time and be on the stage again. So the learnings would be around, my learnings around launch and what I've learned about myself, and also really specifically how I've managed my time and energy during the busy periods of launch week. And we'll kind of get to that a little bit later. Okay, so Chris and I went to the annual planning day, Her Empire Builder. By the way, our business coach, Tina Tower, only opens doors 2 times a year to Her Empire Builder. And I think at the time that this goes live, she will be in launch week, or maybe it might be the next week after. So if you are listening and you do have a business, especially if it's an online business and there's a course component to your business, check out Tina Tower. I'm going to pop her in the show notes, a link to her membership. It's amazing. We have loved being part of Her Empire Builder so far. It's not only supported us in running and growing a profitable business, but the community is also so beautiful and supportive. And there's a lot of like-minded people inside the membership that are just raising each other up. So you can check that out in the show notes if you're curious around how we run our business and all the steps that are happening in the background. So the awards, so part of the planning day, Tina Tower gave out some awards, and one of the awards that I put myself forward for was the Launch Boss, because this is something we have been dialing in over the past 18 months. If you've been in our world for the last year or two, we get pretty loud during launch week. So we only open doors 3 times a year to the Ending Body Burnout Method. We do open again in May. So if you're interested in diving in, jump on the wait list for that one. But it does require a lot of strategy. It requires a lot of time and a lot of energy. And so that's something we, from a business perspective behind the scenes, have been working on. Back in 2021 was our first, it might have even been our second kind of structured program that we put out, but it was the first time we did a limited launch where it's like, doors are only open for a week, join now. And it was a flop. Back then it was called Power Parent. Even the name was confusing for people. They're like, are you like functional medicine practice or are you business coaches? I'm kind of confused about what you do.
It was more about parenting coaches. Like just we were learning how to like use words that resonated with you guys, and we knew what we were doing, but like how do we call it something? It's like,
yeah, it was the message. The message was wrong, even though the way that we helped our clients behind the scenes was essentially what we do inside the Ending Body Burnout Method, but we've, finessed that over the years. So anyway, we had one sign off, and then she decided to break her contract, I don't know, a couple of weeks later, and I was really traumatized. I'm like, we put so much time and effort into this. And
you set yourself up big time. Hey, like you had an expectation.
High expectations.
It didn't hit me as hard as it hit you at that time. Like the emotion of it.
It was also because during that time was around the same time that I'm like, oh, I've got some deeper metaphysical work to be done on myself. So this was during the COVID period, my third body burnout. Symptoms exploded, insomnia, anxiety, all the usual functional medicine tools that I used earlier to address 2 other body burnout episodes wasn't working. And so that's why it hit me more than you. Like I do actually call it trauma because there was so much emotional charge around that time that I had to work on later to release.
Yeah.
So anyway, now, we're doing the launches again and they're great and I love it. And there's still a lot of work, but it's the learnings that have happened across the course of time post that first fail. It wasn't actually failure, it was feedback. So when we won, as I said before, Tina Tower's like, come up onto the stage. And to tell you the truth, I didn't even prepare a speech because one, I didn't think I'd win or we would win. There were a lot of other amazing women finalists who had really successful launches. And also, I didn't actually even know that we were supposed to do speeches. So I awkwardly ran up, got my award, got an awkward photo with Tina. It was so funny when she gave all the photos from the professional photographer. Everyone who won awards had this like beautiful, happy smile. And I had this like weird kind of like my mouth open, gobsmacked, almost like I'm feeling really awkward here. And that is the one that she used in her social media stories around the awards. I'm like, awesome.
It was epic.
It was epic. So for days after that, I felt quite unsettled and I was trying to name the emotion that I was feeling. It wasn't embarrassment. It was an embarrassment in that I felt embarrassed because I thought other people were judging me and then therefore I was feeling shame that I didn't have a speech prepared and that I wasted the opportunity to share tips around what we've done as a business. But I couldn't quite pinpoint what I was feeling. So I ended up having a coaching session around this with one of my coaches. And as we were unpacking it, all of a sudden I just felt really sad. And I knew that this was the root emotion because when I get to a root, I will have a cry. It's like, there's something heavy here. There's something real here. And this is similar to, so if there's clients listening to this episode, you know that, you know, in our space when we're doing this deeper root cause coaching and what's actually causing this, whether it's a physical symptom, an emotional symptom, a behavioral pattern, when you get to the root, you feel it. Like all of a sudden it's safe to know. And then you feel it. So for me, I felt really sad. And for some context, again, if you've listened to this podcast for a while, I have talked in the past about my old deepest root cause belief was all around being weak and incapable. And it was actually created in a moment when I was standing on the stage, paralyzed, and I couldn't speak. I literally forgot everything that I had memorized in terms of what I wanted to say on the stage. And I was only like 6 or 7. So, and there were many similar events around this timeline as well, as a kid being on stage or being put on the spot, like in a classroom situation, and feeling that fight, flight, paralysis type feeling in my body, the freeze state, and not being able to say anything. So this even happened in university. I don't know if I've ever shared this, but I think I was year 3 university. So I'm kind of like becoming an adult now. And I remember I wrote a poem. So it was in a creative writing tutorial. And I wrote this poem that I thought was amazing. I put a lot of effort into it. It was a beautiful poem. But I got a lot of feedback from my classmates and my teacher that it was very politically incorrect. And so they're like, wow, this is an awesome poem in terms of the words that you've written and the strategy and the creativity, but it's politically incorrect. And I felt like I had done something bad. I felt like I was naughty. And then my teacher asked me a question about the poem, and I felt like it was about 5 minutes of silence. I literally couldn't open up my voice pipes to talk, to respond back to her question. And it was a very long pause of silence until finally she rescued me, and she's like, okay, let's move on to the next person's poem. So this has definitely been a theme throughout my timeline, and I've done a lot of work around this pattern. And I knew that the deeper belief was cleared, like this deeper old weak and incapable belief was cleared because the unsettledness wasn't around embarrassment or humiliation or resentment or shame. The unsettledness was around sadness. And so this is really important too, because when you've cleared something deep from your unconscious mind, you don't have to go back and continue doing it again and again and again and again. When you actually feel into the root of what's going on, there'll be a different nuance around it. Even if it's taking you back to a similar memory, there's often a different nuance and just like another little bit of onion layer to be peeled off, or maybe it's actually demonstrating something to you in the present rather than the past. Does that make sense?
Pause. Okay. This comes up over and over again with our clients and in the public as well, when we'll have discovery calls or talk to people or have comments online or whatever. I've done the work. I've done the work, DONE, done, as in completed, finished. It's full stop. There's an end and I've passed it. The finish line, boom, ribbon is done.
Such a good point. I was feeling that a bit the other day, actually. I'm like, I think it was like something, we probably will have a podcast coming up around relationships and marriage, but it was something around that.
Another one.
But I actually said this in my head. I'm like, I have done that work. I have gone back to that memory and I've done the work that I need to do around that. And then I called myself out. I'm like, oh, hang on. Like, what? Just because I've done the work means that everything is peachy for the rest of my life? There's almost like this injustice of it, which then can cause someone to drop down into victim. It's like, well, I've done the work, so what else is there? This is unfair. I've worked so hard, as opposed to, well, yeah, you've done the work. You've done some work. Maybe you've done 98% of the work, but
What do you want, a medal? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you want me to, what do you want me to, no, I'm not saying this to you, but I am, but I'm also saying it to myself. You want a little happy prize? You want a little trophy from $1 store, little thing, and we write your name on it with permanent marker. You are rocking. You've done the work. Congratulations, man. Like, good. It was your responsibility to do it. Yeah. I don't say that to a female. but like, congratulations. What? You want a high five and a medal? Like, good. It was your responsibility. It always was your responsibility. You're growing up. Now, being part of an adult is not to rest on your laurels and see that you deserve some kind of medal. It's get back in the game. Keep working until you're gonna be you. And I think I know what you're about to say is like, there's gonna come a time where you don't have to keep working on this thing. But the fact that you're here and you're having this conversation, you got to what am I trying to say? Switch. You got to flip that word around. It's like, you're not done, you're doing.
Yeah. And okay, so there's a nuance around that. I won't go into the marriage stuff because that'll be a whole nother episode. But personally for me, where I am at with my relationship with self, there's like a 5% missing piece that I'm currently working on, and that's exciting and hard.
Yeah.
With this experience with the awards, the work was done, and now the nuance around it was different. And so I'm going to share that, because sometimes you have actually resolved a deep belief about self, or you've cleared any emotional charge, any trauma around a past event, and it might just be an imprint that's pressing on, not necessarily a wound, like that wound is now healed, but it's giving you some more information around who you want to be now in the present and in the future. And that was the case with the awards. So it wasn't embarrassment that I was feeling, it was sadness. And when I really felt into the sadness, it's like, why am I sad? I realized that I had missed a beautiful opportunity to share how and why we have had such a great business, why we have a great business, and why we've been successful in business to a room full of women who, most of them, and I had many conversations with them, most of them are struggling with burnout and trying to succeed to the detriment of their health. That was the sadness, like that was the unsettledness of what I was feeling post this experience. I was sad because I didn't step up to share my wisdom to help other women, not just in their business, but even more importantly in their health and in their soul. It's like, what a wasted opportunity. And so if I could go back on that stage, yes, I would have, and I did rant about Tina Towers' strategies and, her business strategies, and they were definitely a big part of our successful launches. But I personally believe that the biggest secret to our success in our business is the inner work and the deep trust I now have with myself, and also that Chris has worked on in himself as well. And I know this because we were locked out of a ceiling of growth, including revenue growth back in the day with business. Prior to me doing the deeper inner work, and it was almost like I was putting in hours, maybe 60 or 80. I don't know if I've ever worked 80 hours a week. I don't even know what that would feel like. That's crazy. But I was putting in a lot of hours. I was doing all the strategy work. We were even winning awards and, putting out some great stuff, but it's like there was no growth. It was almost like we were just making enough to pay the bills, to pay ourselves a meager wage. And that was kind of it for quite a few years. And when I started addressing these deeper beliefs about self, like literally every month, we started making an extra $10,000 without changing any business strategy. And it continued to grow from there. And so I'm talking about this because strategy is important, but if I could go back and share our success, our secrets for launch success, it would be connect back with self. Learn to trust yourself. Learn to get rid of these big limiting beliefs you created as a kid, and to get rid of the baggage from the past, because that's what will be holding you back. So I wished I had shared all of that, and I also would have shared that I know who I am, and I know what's inside of me, and I know the incredible gift of our ending body burnout method. Like, I know that it is an incredible gift, this method that we've created. It's repeatable, it's proven, it's effective. It's an embodiment of 10 years of trying to get to the root cause of my own body burnout, and another 5 years of embodying all that we teach. And like, the proof is in the pudding. So I have beautiful health, and I'm living my life on purpose. And this is the gift that we can give to you, the listeners, and to anyone else who wants to end their body burnout. So yes, strategy is important from a business perspective, but it's the embodiment, which is what I wished I had shared. It's the secret sauce. Anything to add?
Yeah, just to add to that, or to confirm that strategy is, I'd say, critical. Strategy, tactics, they're critical for growth and business and all that sort of stuff. But I think a lot of people who are burned out have only worked on the strategy, have only worked on the tactics. And I think you'll have a long, hard look at yourself. If you're feeling burned out, you know what I'm saying. You've over prioritized, overvalued the strategy, and you've under prioritized self. You've lost rapport with yourself. You've stopped listening to yourself. You've neglected to act on the intuition that you have had. You always have had. It's been there, and you've just turned yourself off. Turned the dial down. You've muted your inner voice.
Yeah, and I think this can be applied to all aspects of life as well. So if you're just like doing strategy, but you don't trust yourself, you don't know yourself, you don't love yourself, then it's always going to lead to burnout. And that could be in business, it could be in parenting, it could be in the way that you're approaching your health protocols. Got all the strategy, I'm doing the things, or maybe I know what I need to do, but I'm not doing it. It's like, great, but all of that is going to lead to burnout because you're trying to run away from yourself. You're trying to fix a symptom, not actually address the deepest root cause and discover the truth of who you are. That's where true health and wellness and success, whether it's in health or business or workplace or family, that's where it happens. Okay, so the sadness, so then I learned from all of this, well, the sadness that I had felt was actually a good thing. The sadness wasn't pity. The sadness was knowing deep in my cells that I am amazing, and I didn't let them see it. The sadness was, I know who I am and what's inside of me. And, you know, we talk about a gift. So sometimes some things can feel icky and yuck or hard, but these icky, yuck, hard things are essentially gifts. Gifts of being able to look deeper into what's going on at a deeper level. And I wasn't able to share my gift to them. So the sadness was a missed opportunity, because I know, and I knew in that instance I had more to give and to share. I just kind of like froze in the moment. And so that's where the sadness was. And it was like this big full circle moment. So this adult experience last year was very different to the little girl and all the younger versions of me that felt fear and embarrassment and judgment, fear that I'd been exposed as being weak and incapable. It wasn't, this adult experience last year wasn't the little girl who had lost trust in herself and who had forgotten who she really was. This moment was actually the opposite, the absolute opposite. This moment was me, a woman who deeply knows and trusts and loves herself and just missed the opportunity to share it. Okay. So there's kind of like two parts in this episode. So that's part one. Part two is I wanted to talk about how we actually manage our time and energy during launch. And this will be really applicable for if you're someone who feels overwhelmed and stretched and busy, especially if there's seasons of that. So I was talking a lot about this with clients in December and January because there was a lot of the same story. Oh, I'm just like really busy at the moment. There's so much school stuff and like getting ready for Christmas and getting ready for holidays and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm just like, my body is speaking to me. It's speaking loud and clear to me. And I know that I'm being too busy, but I don't know how to like untangle myself out of this. So I want to share this launch experience of a season of like busyness and what I've learned through it and how I've learned to manage my time and energy through it. And I hope that you can apply this to any aspect in your life where you're feeling stretched, overwhelmed, like there's too much going on. Okay, so I was getting some comments from clients and followers in the past when we do launch. So launch is intense. It's a week and we've got lots of live free events and we're talking to a lot of people as well as serving all of our current clients and being parents to 2 little girls. And I had some people saying, oh my gosh, you're like an Energizer bunny. How the heck can you handle all of this? Are you exhausted by the end? Are you burnt out? And to tell you the truth, if I go back to that 2021, like that very first launch that we did, I was completely burnt out by the end of it because I put so much expectation that it was going to be a success and we're going to sign up a bunch of clients and it was going to be amazing. We're going to help heaps of people and everyone was going to like love what we did. And we had that one person sign up who very shortly after broke her contract and cancelled, and I was burnt out. I remember at the end of launch, we had put on a free live. I think it was just live through Facebook and Instagram. And every day, Chris and I had done it together. And by the last one, I'm like, I'm done. Chris, you can do this. Do you remember that? You can do this one by yourself. I'm done. I'm done with this. I was done emotionally, but also physically. I wasn't sleeping and I was so tired. So from that experience, this is before I have then went on to do the deep metaphysical inner work. I was absolutely operating out of strategy, like do the things and then I'll feel good about myself and everything will be great. And a lot of people run their lives out of this. So strategy, state, story. If I do the things, then I'm going to feel good and I'm going to feel good about myself. So that flop launch years ago, I was definitely operating out of strategy first. I had no idea around how to manage my state and I had no idea around even having stories about myself. I had a lot of stories about myself, but I didn't know how to change them. So I had no idea about who I was, what I was capable of. I was still trying to hide from the greatest fear I had about myself, and the unconscious story that I was playing out around being incapable meant that I had to force the strategy. I had to force the state. If it wasn't safe, like it wasn't safe to succeed, and when we didn't succeed, it then reinforced the story that I was incapable and weak and no good. So since we've been running the launches over the last 18 months, and this is post doing the deep healing work on myself, it has been safe to succeed because I live from a new story. So I now believe that I'm capable and strong and more than enough, and I'm a ray of sunshine. When I pop up onto people's Facebook feeds or when they jump onto our free webinars, I'm just a ray of sunshine. I'm good, I'm honest, I have integrity. That's the story. This is the story I now live out of, not just in business or during launch time, but every day. And so then state, so get clear on my story, get clear on who I am, and then I manage my state. And in the context of launch, well, the state is I want to harness the state of boss and get the things done, but also the leader and the coach and the presenter and the motivator. So there's a few different states that I step into, and then the strategy comes. Then it's like, okay, cool. What are all the things I need to tick off on this launch list that's going to help us create a successful launch? So it's very different from the old way of running from strategy first, and then state and story is just all messed up anyway. And so every launch I've implemented more strategies and boundaries so that I can take care of myself and my energy. And I thought I would share this because, as I said before, when we started doing launch, or that very first time, I was burnt out. But even when we started doing this launch model 18 months ago, like I was pretty cooked the first time.
Oh.
Like I was still operating out of a loving and safe story about myself, but there were boundaries that needed to be in place. There were games that weren't being played. And so I felt like I was in this whirlwind of craziness. And by the end of it, it was almost like, I don't think I can do a launch again. And I think I need to have a whole 3 months off before I ever do any type of marketing again. And I'm just going to disappear and only serve my clients, which is very life-giving and energy-giving for me. Being an introvert, being out on the other side of like talking to strangers felt very uncomfortable. So I'm going to go through some of the things that I've implemented and learnt along the way in the last 18 months, 2 years, as we've been ramping up to this more busier season in our business around launch. So prior preparation, and some of these are strategy, some of these are more kind of like inner connection work. So months in advance, I would divvy out jobs to our team. So we all have our zone of genius. Back in the day when Chris and I started working in business, we were trying to do each other's jobs all the time, hey? And there was no clear delegation, and there was no real clear understanding of what we were both really good at. And we also have our EA Jerson as well.
This is that is a gold nugget for any of you business owners who are in business. I was going to say business owners in business, right? Really hone in on your zone of genius. You're going to be quicker. You're going to have more fun. You're going to burn out less, if at all, if you work on yourself and not just focus on strategy. So if you can do the stuff that you're genius at, and you can get an assistant or staff member to help you with things that, frankly, it's not you don't have fun, it's not your genius, and they're going to be quicker at it. They are going to have fun doing what you get them to do, the stuff that you don't like. You know, like as soon as we honed in on that one thing.
Yeah. And this can be applied to home and personal life as well. So, you know, just some, like, look at all the things you're currently doing in your life. Do you like looking after kids? I will say that because some parents deeply love their children and they're great parents, but they don't love looking after them. Or do you love cleaning or cooking, or gardening, or doing the laundry, or I don't know, taxiing the children around?
This is okay. Real practical example of that is with Elsie, putting Elsie to bed at night. Poppy and I have gelled since day zero. Like we've always found a way to just connect, and our hobbies are exactly the same, except for basketball and sport. Anyway, so Elsie and I found it harder to connect with Elsie and find what she really loved. And anyway, it took a little while to get to know my daughter and what she actually really loved. And now we've got a really beautiful evening routine of connection and fun and enjoyment, weekly daddy-daughter dates-ish, weekly-ish.
Yeah, because you love what you do together at nighttime as well.
Yeah,
so
but it took a while.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that's the point of this one in terms of application in your life outside of business is, like, for example, I don't love cleaning. I mean, we've done a whole podcast on cleaning, but there are some things that I don't mind doing, like laundry, easy peasy. Doing the dishes, easy peasy, unless I'm at the clinic and then it's outsourced to my family. But I hate with vengeance cleaning the bathroom and vacuuming and mopping the floors. Actually, I shouldn't say hate. It's just, I just don't, like, I don't get into the groove of it.
Yeah.
And so delegated that. Hired a cleaner to do the thing I didn't want to do. Okay. So other things that I implemented to help manage my time and energy. So boundaries around time. So again, if we're using the metaphor, the story around launch week, and this took a while to learn. So I needed to go through multiple launches to find a sweet spot with boundaries. The first time I thought I'd put enough boundaries around my time, but it wasn't the case, because by the end of launch week, I'm like, wow, I'm really tired. I need to go and hibernate for a bit. So every launch I just reviewed. I reviewed the data and I'm like, okay, cool. How do I feel at the end of this launch? Oh, I'm still feeling a bit blah. Okay, well, something needs to be changed up. And so I just changed things up every launch. So for example, like I close my calendar for appointments except for current client appointments. I always honor and serve our awesome clients inside our Ending Body Burnout method, but I close my calendar for any other types of appointments 2 weeks leading up to launch being open, and then 1 month after doors close. That's what I do now, and that is the sweet spot. This feels really good. Whereas in the past, I really just closed my calendar during the launch week and 1 week after the launch week, but it wasn't enough time to recoup, recharge, reset, and also onboard all our lovely new clients. So question for you around this: how can you block out your time in busy seasons? So I mentioned earlier, I spoke to clients around this during Christmas time. And one client was really shocked when I said I give myself 6 weeks of open space during the launch season. When I started talking about this to her, she thought I was going to say, oh, I just give myself a week to reset, recuperate, recover. So she was like, whoa, what? 6 weeks? Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, that's probably why me giving myself a day after a really busy season isn't quite enough for me to heal from chronic fatigue. Another thing I did was I prioritized self-care during launch week. Now I always that is one of my highest values is health, and health looks like self-care regularly. But again, when we started doing launch, I let some of that stuff drop off because I was more focused on the to-do list, and there's so much that I need to do, and I need to get back to all these people who are inquiring about the Ending Body Burnout method, and it will all be okay when the week finishes and I'll get back into my routine of healthy meals and lots of water and movement and nature and sleep. Again, when I reviewed the end of the earlier launch weeks, I realized that was not helpful. I absolutely needed to continue prioritizing at least a good solid hour of self-care every day. The last launch that we did in January was summer and it was still school holidays. So most days I was actually at the beach for 2 to 3 hours with my kids. And far out, I felt amazing by the end of that launch. Not only did I have heaps of energy, but I just felt so grounded and relaxed and also unattached to the outcome. So again, reflecting back to you, how can you apply this? Well, what are some small things, even those bare minimum things that will make a big difference for you in terms of self-care? So if you're in a busy season, or if you're like Philly, I feel like my whole life, every single day across the whole space of time is busy and overwhelming and stressful, then it's okay, cool. What's some bare minimums? What's some bare minimums of things that you can do, or the time allocated for self? It might be a massage, or putting on a 5-minute meditation, or just going for a walk or sitting on the ground and having a conversation with self, you'll get to know what's going to be needed for you. You might not get it right the first time, but the more that you practice this and then review and then try something different, you will get into a beautiful rhythm with self and what your body and the best part of you needs in order to succeed in life and in health. Okay, mindset. Mindset was also a really important piece. So my own personal coaching sessions, I needed personally my own personal coaching sessions to stay in the zone and to work through any inner stuff as it came up before, during, and after launch. And that might have been like a personal coaching session with myself and my journal, or to actually pay someone else to facilitate that for me. Because stuff comes up. So especially if you're in a new level of growth, whether it's like, I don't know, your kids are going into high school, or you have a business and you're trying new things, or you've got like a new level of revenue, or you've just been employed into a new job. So these are all examples of new levels of growth. And often the nervous system will freak out when that happens. It's like, oh, no, we haven't done this before. Eek. And some stuff can come up that needs to be reviewed, whether it's a self-limiting belief or a distressful event from the past that needs to be reviewed and upgraded and cleared. So that was really important for me. I also had some mantras. So it's safe to be slow. Far out. I could have like stayed awake 24/7 during launch week, and there would be more things to do. But it's like, it's okay. What's the top priority? And it's safe to be slow and to move through this. And if we don't get all the things done, it's totally fine. It's safe. It's safe. Another mantra was, I'm unattached to the outcome. So what I found in the past, especially in that 2021 example where it was quite traumatic, was that I was so attached to having so many clients sign up, and it was going to look like this. And therefore, when it didn't happen, broken expectations, and I felt gutted and felt hopeless and incapable and weak and not enough and no one likes me. And it fed all those old beliefs that hadn't been updated and reviewed. Today, in my life and in my business, I'm unattached to the outcome. Even if no one signs up during this launch, I still know I'm awesome. Like, at the end of the day, that's where it is. Some people might say, oh yeah, but it's about the money. Like, what if I have a failed launch and then I have no money coming in and then I can't feed my kids? But it's always deeper than that. It's always deeper than that. It's always like, if there's unresourceful attachment to the outcome, it's because you need to prove yourself through the outcome. So when I can be unattached to the outcome, regardless of how little or how many people sign up during launch week, I still know I'm a phenomenal practitioner. I still know I embody everything that I do. I also know I'm incredibly capable, so that if it's like, that was a flop launch, that's interesting. I don't think it has anything to do with me as a human, with my worth. There was something, let's just analyze what's going on there. We missed something, or I don't know, it was the economical climate. A couple of other mantras. The end outcome is no reflection of my worth as a person. And this one was really important. I show up to serve regardless of whether they become a client or not. And I noticed there was a little bit of, like with the earlier launches, when, we would show up and I'd give my all and like give so much value. And then the people who are receiving the free content didn't sign up as a client. And I used to, if I'm being very honest, be a bit miffed by that. I'm like, how dare you? Like, I gave all of this to you and you gave me nothing. Again, what was underneath that was, I need you.
Codependence.
Well, it was codependence. I need you to become a client so that I can feel good about myself and know that I'm capable and strong and a good enough practitioner. Whereas now it's like, you know what? Like, the game is, we put on free events. I mean, even this podcast is free. And I'm doing it, yes, as a marketing strategy, but also just to spread the hope of healing and love and to literally serve you regardless of whether you pay me money or not. And so, yeah, that was a mantra and becoming unattached with that. Another one was I'm a ray of sunshine. If you've been in our launches and you've attended like our free live coaching week, maybe you've had a discovery call with Chris or you were put your name down on the wait list. At the end of launch, this is a little like behind the scenes from a business point of view. We spend like a day or two, sometimes even 3, going through the list of people who have expressed interest, and I'll personally send you a video message. We haven't done that with all launches, but some of the launches we have. And when I first started doing it, I just noticed some like ickiness around it. It was just like, oh, I feel like I'm invading this person's private space, and like, what are they going to think? And then I did some clearing work around that. So there was some stuff around less than, and it was all connected to my older sister. It was crazy. Crazy how things from the past can show up unexpected in the present, even if that person who was part of the creation or the meaning making that I made wasn't even part of this launch. So it was less than, and then I did some beautiful clearing work around that and some inner child healing. And the flip of the belief from less than was I'm a ray of sunshine. And so when I started doing the video messages, I'm like, far out. These people are so lucky to get my face in their inbox, talking personally to them, saying their name, because I'm a ray of sunshine. I don't care like if you thought that or not, but from my perspective, that was the energy that I was putting out, and it was lovely, and it was enjoyable, and it was wonderful, and it wasn't fear-based, and it wasn't scarcity. It was literally like, I am here to serve you, and I'm here to give you some sunshine today. Do you have any of your own little mantras during launch or business?
Mine's almost entirely always the same. It's I am lovable, but not everyone loves me, and that's okay. Most people don't know me. In fact, most people in the world don't even know who I am. And one day, my grandkids probably won't even know my name.
Oh, yeah.
And that really hits me hard. Now, that might not hit you hard, but that's really resourceful for me in a non-victim sort of way. That's my get out of jail card. I used to have this opinion of myself, I'm not lovable. And that speaks to me, like what I just said there.
Yeah.
And in the moment, in the heat of the battle, when something just blindsides me, I'm like, whoa. I can feel it in my body, and instead of running away or leaning out, I can lean into that and stand there, feel it, and without any urgency to run away or hide, I can just notice and observe, be the observer, the witness, not the judge of this means something about me. Nah, actually, probably means more about them than it does you. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody else. That's my mindset mantra. I use that I wouldn't say every day, but every time I get into a situation where it would have brought me undone in the past. It's just a gentle reminder. It's like, hey, dude, she'll be right, mate.
Yeah, I like that. One other piece around the mindset was have fun with trolls. So we run ads, Facebook ads and Instagram ads. And far out, there's a lot of trolls that come out when you talk about food. There's a lot of opinions around food. And there was one particular, you might have even seen it, like if you're on Facebook or Instagram and you've had ads pop up, there was one where I'm eating cheese. And I'm like, yay, I'm so excited. I can eat cheese and chocolate again. And I'm not getting histamine intolerance from it and heartburn and acne. It's so cool. And I did it through our ending body burnout method, and wrote a bit more about it in the caption. I had quite a few trolls say, how dare you? This is disgusting. There were a lot of swear words as well. This is, you can't who do you think you are telling people to eat crap? Insert swear word. You have no right. You have no expertise. You don't even know what you're talking about. And I'm like, okay. And the very first comment that I got, I did feel a flighty around it. I was just like, oh my gosh, maybe I need to dial it down. Maybe I shouldn't actually share that this is a possibility in reality. Maybe I need to, just say only eating healthy foods is like the right thing to do. And then again, did some work around that, the second launch when that started happening. And then I've just interestingly, with curiosity, noticed my reaction as more troll comments have come forth over the last 18 months. And I see it now as far out we're doing something right. I love it. Like, I love it when someone hates my opinion or hates the way that we practice functional medicine or health. I'm like, hell yeah, you're not our people. But also there are people who are desperately wanting to have freedom and abundance with their health and their life and not be stuck in a restrictive prison. And they're the people that, I don't know, like we would have had maybe 500 comments on that ad. And majority of them were saying, yes, give that to me, please. Okay, so again, a little reflection for you, and maybe some of the mantras, reframes that Chris and I shared. You're like, oh, yes, I'm going to use that in this aspect of my life. But are there any other ones, any other mantras, reframes, practices that could help you in more challenging times, whether it's a busy time or a more confronting or triggering time? And also, who could you reach out for support? So I mentioned to me that I personally hire someone, a coach, to help me because I know I will get through my own blind spots a lot faster when someone can shine a light on mine. So if you're feeling like you're stuck and not moving forward with your health, with your healing, who can you reach out to for support? Okay. A few other tidbits around what has been helpful for me in managing my time and in my energy during the busy launch season. So the game, we've had other podcasts, and if you're a client, you would have heard us use this language. Be intentional around the game you're playing in any aspect of your life. And so by game, this isn't to be manipulative or tricky. A game is purely like, what does it look like to win? Well, what are the rules to win the game? What are the consequences if you don't play the rules? So for launch, I realized, and this took a few launches to realize that I wasn't intentionally playing the launch game. I chose it because our business coach, Tina, was like, I love this. This is great. You get success with it. And I'm like, okay, yep, this sounds good. Let's give it a go. And so I was playing the game from a strategic point of view, but I wasn't intentionally. It was almost like I was fighting against the game. It was almost like at the end of launch, so the earlier launches when I felt burnt out, kind of like very similar to giving birth. It's like, oh my gosh, that was the hardest thing ever and I never want to do it again. Now with us, the launches, like the doors open to our ending body burnout every 4 months. So I didn't have the nice 1 or 2 or 3 years to recover from birth before I say, yes, please, let's do it again. And so I was unresourcefully fighting against leaning into playing the launch game. And when I realized this consciously, I'm like, oh, that's why it's hard. Because I'm fighting against it, even though I'm choosing to do it. So then I'm like, okay, I'm going to intentionally play this game and embrace the roller coaster of launch, the ebbs and the flows, the uncertainties, the extra workload, the extra things that need to be delegated. I'm going to intentionally play the roller coaster game of launch. And I wanted to play the game because the results are worth it. not just in terms of bringing in beautiful new souls into our ending body burnout method, but also in the off season. So when the doors are closed, I really love the quietness of off season where, we're still doing marketing like this and podcasts and social media, but most of my energy is spent serving our clients and helping them get really great results. So that was also the game I was playing. I'm like, okay, a bit more intensity with marketing for a short period of time, and then I can retreat back into serving our clients. So be intentional with the game. And again, there might be an area in your life, whether it's health, healing, business, parenting, that you're like, oh, this game feels exhausting. Well, I just start asking, like, do you want to play it? The answer might be yes. And it's like, okay, cool. We'll stop resisting it. Just surrender into it. Just play the game wholeheartedly. The answer also might be no. It's like, you know what? No, I don't like playing this game. I'm going to choose a different game. Okay, our kids were also an important part of launch, or prepping our kids around launch. So leading up to launch, I would prep our children and say, there's going to be less time with us. Mum and dad are going to be busier than usual this week. It doesn't mean we don't love you. So really just, feeding and seeding that into their brains so that even if or when there was less time with them or they had less time with us, it wasn't because we didn't love them. And it was only for a short period of time. And I had to get okay with having the house trashed, with my kids eating whatever they wanted to, and also with way more tech time. And this was part of the game as well. So it's like, all right, if we're going to juggle this, especially in January when the kids were still on holidays, this is also part of the game. I'm going to be okay with things being messy and them eating whatever they want from the cupboard and being on Xbox or TV.
So therefore, to take responsibility for this, we would have to fill the cupboard with good stuff, or have pre-conversations, have post-conversations, have an abundance of love and connection pre and post, all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
If we want to play the game, we want to win, then things are going to have to be a little bit different. We can't just not change other important things.
Yeah, I mean, that's the last point too, which I'll get to, where we've always scheduled in a holiday away from home with our kids post-launch. But I just wanted to, Chris said, make sure that the cupboard is filled with good things. I chose better things. But if I'm going to expect my 9 and my 12-year-old to fend for themselves, it's got to be easy food as well. So there was a lot more convenience food in the cupboards that I knew that at least they're fed, they're not starving, it's not perfect, I'm okay with this. And then the last point, so yeah, we intentionally schedule in a holiday away with kids post-launch. And that has looked different every launch. Like just recently in January, we went away, I think, for 5 or 6 days to the east coast of Tasmania. We got an Airbnb. We spent lots of time at the beach and together, and it was wonderful. Last year, we did a trip to Fiji post-launch, and that was really awesome. But the point of that is to, again, kind of rest and recharge for Chris and I, but also to make sure that our kids are loved up and we've reconnected. And also disconnect from technology as well. So let's get out in nature and do some fun things. And so that's really important for, I think, my self-care, but also for our family connection. And surprisingly enough, it gets my creative juices from a business perspective flowing again. It's almost like, oh, I've got some great ideas for next launch, or oh, I can't wait to start developing some new workshops for our clients inside our ending body burnout method. And I really don't think that would happen if we stayed home and just got straight back into work again. Okay, anything to add?
No, I love the word game. The word game means a little bit different to me than it does to some people that I talk to. I think there's a connotation around manipulation. If you've played sport, I think you might see it very similar to me, It's where games are fun. It's really enjoyable to tussle and to play, to enjoy working for something where there's resistance. Like, this is real. It's really fun. And I think this is a masculine concept. So sometimes if you're more in that feminine energy, it might not resonate 100% with you, but games are fun. And so if you can allow your life to come into your heart and just enjoy the fun of striving for something and working through challenge, like this is a cool thing.
Awesome. Okay, so just to wrap up this episode, if you want to join our Ending Body Burnout Method talking about launches, we do have a launch coming up in May. What's the exact date? I think it's like the 19th of May is when launch week starts. So our doors will be open again in May. So I'll pop in the show notes the link to join the waitlist. If you join the waitlist, there's a couple of benefits to that. One, you'll be first to know and you can jump on and secure a spot. So our program isn't just a course. It isn't just group coaching. We include one-on-one consults, coaching sessions, unlimited email support, one-on-one in our program. So there are only limited spaces. So if you're on the waitlist, you get first dibs. And also you can get access to exclusive waitlist bonuses that are valued over $500. So it's very worth popping your name on the waitlist. And also too, if you're, you have an online business and you're kind of like, oh, I kind of liked what you were talking about from a business strategy point of view. Tina Tower is our business coach. She's awesome. Her doors are opening in March for her Empire Builder. There are a couple of males in there too. My husband and Dave.
We have a good old masculine chinwag over in the corner.
When we go to live events, it's like Chris and Dave. But you guys love chatting to the women as well.
Dave and I love chatting to anybody, I'm sure. I'm sure, Dave, if you're listening to this, you'd be like nodding your head, yep. Well, come have a chat to us.
Oh dear. So I'll pop a link into her Empire Builder as well if you were curious to find out more about that. All right. Thank you so much for listening.
Have the best day ever.
Thank you so much for listening. We so appreciate you. If you'd like to give us extra smiles, drop us a review and spread the love by sharing this episode.
You can also rate your own state of burnout and the root cause contributors by taking our Ending Body Burnout Assessment on our website. And if you're interested in learning about our group or one-on-one Ending Body Burnout programs, shoot us a DM via Instagram or Facebook.
Have the best day ever.